20th century, and in the 1990s, we have to still go the same bullshit route that other artists have had to go to get acceptance. If it wasn't for the independence, if it wasn't for the small little cities and the few little ghetto guys trying to make music, it would have never happened. Some of these guys will never make a dime. Some of these guys will be poor and die alone. But in the process, they've been the true renegades. And the true rebels always walk alone anyway. But in the process, they've been the true renegades. And the true rebels always walk alone anyway.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back once again to the British Boring Car Championship, and we are here for the final race meeting of the season here at the fantastic Silverstone International. My name is Chaz Draycott, and I'm delighted to say once again, is David Addison alongside me. David, it's all finally come to an end here.
It is very odd in a sense, isn't it? Finishing a championship in the middle of August, especially as real world championships are only just starting. But what has been a great season, as you say, is set to come to an end. And like proper touring car championships are wont to do, it's going to go down to the wire because it can't be wrapped up in the first race, which is excellent. But you're going to have to bear with me because over the last few years, I've only learned how to say champion and Colin Turkington in the same sentence. So having new names, new options like Dave Waldock or in the context of tonight, Dennis Melcher, might all be a bit new. So we'll see how we get on.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be an exciting evening, and what we will do is just go over the championship standings for everybody then. So, as things are, well, clearly it's going well because Chaz has got the info in there, but for some reason it's not read it, so bear with me. You press a button and boom, there it is. Dave Waldock leads the championship by just 8 points over Dennis Melcher. The German is looking to win his first series in the Jetta. He may be known as the King of the Jetta or Lord of the Jetta, but he actually told me this week that he has a 100% record so far of finishing second in every Jetta championship he's raced in. So we'll see how he gets on and whether he can break that curse. But Dave Waldock 8 points clear. In the independents, Matt Draycott is clear of Steve Burke by 14 points. So he's going to be looking to keep that gap and take that title. And in the teams championship as well, Might Just Fit, which is Dave Waldock and Michael Blake, are 44 points clear. And by race 2 tonight, if they're 43 points clear, then they will wrap up the standings there. But it's all close and plenty to play for here, David. And like you say, you want them to go down to the last round, and that's exactly what we've got here.
And they did the last time. I seem to remember that the international circuit, this configuration of the international circuit at Silverstone were used when you turn through Ireland here and go down towards Abbey. It's rather different these days, the international circuit. But this always used to give, this section now that you're looking at with Michael Blake on track, you had this long, fast run and then down to a slow, tight corner. And that always used to give a good overtaking opportunity, good outbraking, but also used to give you mayhem. Because it was one of those corners, and long may that continue. So yes, Silverstone has evolved, but this is a very nice reminder as to how it used to be, especially if the light fades and we get racing in the dark. And then into Bridge Bend. Bridge Bend was a great corner, and it's a real shame that you don't have that at Silverstone anymore because it was proper and it sorted out the people with big whatnots from the rest. But
Definitely.
It takes you back. It takes me back. And Michael Blake is all over the place, so he's exploring the new style rallycross. Oh, hello. No, the black bit, Michael. Oh, dear. It's going to be one of those nights, isn't it? Right, let's find somebody that knows where the racing line is. Let's try Fraser Smith, see if he's any better for Nodaphone.
Well, Fraser, as you will see, is sporting one of the more obviously chrome-edited liveries that I have made for the evening. A lot of the cars are sporting a bit more shiny stuff than normal. Just ahead of him there, Rob Lundgren in the not quite a Volvo. You'll see the entire front end of that thing, very garishly, is in chrome. And it just adds a bit to the spectacle of having these cars under lights properly for the final round. One that you might not be able to tell much difference on is the dodgy MOT Fords. They're actually fully chrome blue on the back now, as opposed to the sort of semi-matte metallic that we used to have. Dennis Melcher, though, he's making his intentions clear at the moment, fastest in practice, so he's going to want to continue that over the whole evening, I'm sure.
Yeah, because if nothing else, it puts that psychological marker down for everybody else, doesn't it? Thinking, oh, he's going to be quick, and that sort of puts them on the back foot, although little errors like that he can do without, and he's now decided to attack the cones hotline. He gets away with that, but things like that he can ill afford to do. A little bit scrappy. He's got the road to himself, granted, but that's going to cost him time, and equally, if the opposition were to see that in the race, they know he's vulnerable.
Yeah, that's it. He needs to make sure that he keeps his cards close to his chest this evening, and we did actually have a little prize draw. I did announce a while ago that we were going to do a driver's driver award. Basically, a lot of sim racing series tend to do this, where every driver will get the chance to sort of give somebody else a bit something back as their favourite driver of the season. We had, I believe, let me just try and count them, my maths is terrible, 7 drivers got voted for out of all of the drivers that entered it. 6 of them only got 1 vote each. Matt Draycott, Josh Rayfield, Dennis Melchett, Tom Jacobs, Steve Burke and Dave Waldock. But with over 50% of the votes that came in, Andy Fox was the winner of the Driver's Driver Award, and he will be receiving a lovely, cheap, unbranded medal in the post eventually. But it's just one of those lovely sort of community things, and he was very chuffed with it as well. And he's told them all that he's going to go out and put his best performance in tonight to sort of make sure that he doesn't let them down.
That's cool. That is cool, and it's good that the drivers have that camaraderie, I suppose, isn't it? And it's not all pure rivalry on the track.
Yeah, definitely. They all do get on these guys. I mean, as you and I have seen, of course, David, they all do tend to sit in one Discord chat all together, just discussing what's going on. And to be honest, it sometimes promotes even better racing because it's a little bit more predictable between who's going to tell each other to do what, and if they want to work together and move forward to catch someone that's running away. It does open up a different world because, of course, in the real world, racing drivers don't tend to just sit there chatting away with each other while they're racing, do they?
No, I think in the context of the modern day BTCC, they probably have a very brief conversation if they're forced to stand next to somebody on the lorry for the driver's parade. But right now, where you're not meant to be mixing with people outside your team, it's all a very different atmosphere in the paddock. We're not allowed in from the ITV point of view. We have to broadcast from the TV compound, and we can't go in the paddock from Saturday morning to the end of Sunday. So it's a really strange feel at the moment, especially for a championship that has marketed itself around accessibility.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say it seems a bit strange. Even just watching from TV, you don't always notice the crowds there, and you don't always notice the amount of people around at a circuit. But obviously, because it's brought more to our attention this season, it's very noticeable. The empty grandstands and like nobody on the hill at Donington, for example, near the Crane of Curves. It's very odd to look at, but it still hasn't detracted from the racing, though, has it? It's been epic to watch.
No, you're right, and that actually has been very pleasing to see. I know we're digressing a bit from what's on track, but going back a long time, because I'm a very old person, I go back to the what was the National Saloon Car Cup, which was a parallel championship around this time, 2000. And if you remember, in 2001, the National Saloon Cup became Class B, the production class of the British Touring Car Championship. Now, when it was a standalone series at Power Tour, the National Saloon Cup, it gave okay racing, but not mega racing. As soon as they got on the Toka bill, the racing absolutely exploded. And there was this general feeling that it was because they suddenly got big crowds to play to and they were part of the touring car package, and it ignited something. And you therefore get this feeling that people at a touring car meeting are playing to the gallery. Well, they're not, because the gallery is completely empty. And yet at Donington, we had it across all the categories, not just the BTCC, but the supports as well. Brands Hatch the same. Everyone's getting as stuck in as ever. So it's very pleasing to see that the quality of the racing is the same, whether there are 30,000 people there or 3 people and a stray bag of crisps. You know, it's the quality of the racing that's good.
Yeah, that's it. And it's good that obviously there's a couple of new cars this season as well that have been in there. I mean, the Hyundais are doing well with the i30N, and I mean, to be fair, obviously I'm semi-biased, but I mean, Ash Sutton in that Infiniti is a bit of a joy to watch, really, isn't he? Especially at Donington.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, that is a car. Forget any other Infiniti you've seen in the BTCC, because it's a brand new car for this year. They've taken the old shape of that support our paras thing, and BMR Engineering has reworked that car from the ground up. It is a brand new pair of brand new chassis, brand new cars for both drivers, and it's got behind the wheel of one of them a rear wheel drive star and a British Touring Car Champion. So you add all those bits together, of course it's going to go well. And it's got a good engine in the Swindon engine. So yeah, Sutton's going to be, I was talking to Colin Turkington today for the Lamb and Flag podcast, and he's citing Ash Sutton as one of the big threats to him for the championship, and it's easy to see why, as you say. Yeah,
it's interesting to hear that as well, actually, because often I always do wonder. I mean, obviously we get to speak to these guys who we're watching on track now, and they sort of say, oh, I think this guy will be quick, or I think this guy will be quick. You don't often, I mean, from a spectator's point of view, from my sort of point of view, obviously not being that thoroughly involved with it before, I've not really heard that much from drivers saying, oh, I think this guy will be a fighter for the championship. But you never sort of think that they'd publicly speak about that because they'd want to keep their cards close to their chest as such.
There is that, but the flip side is as well that racing drivers' excuse book. So if you suddenly cite that there are 12 potential people, it brings people's expectations of you down. So if you don't win, well, you know, you've been saying, well, yeah, remember Sam Tordoff when he lost the championship to Gordon Shedden. Sam had spent the entire weekend almost talking himself out of it, like Carlos Reutemann did at Caesars Palace in 1981 in Formula One. You know, he was saying, well, you know, if I don't win it, it's not the end of the world. He almost talked himself out of it, perhaps, before he went into the race. Whereas for Gordon Shedden, he was absolutely determined to win it, come what may. Anyway, indeed. To the plot in hand, because we've got qualifying underway. Sorry, one ought to concentrate here. And who we've got going quickest at the moment? It is Steve Burke. Now, that's very bad news if you're Matt Draycott. I mean, you know, it's bad enough being Matt Draycott at the best of times, but when you're trying to win the mediocre cup for independents, and Steve Burke is quicker, even though he's lost now because he's got the escape road, Matty Draycott needs to find a bit of time, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. And he did say that he was confident going into this because he said that the independents for the first half of the season hadn't really challenged him. But I was working out my facts and figures over the last few days just to get a master facts sheet together. And Mr. Burke has actually got the second highest run of points finishes so far this season. He's finished in the points for the last 9 races in a row. The only person that's done more than that in one row is actually the championship leader, David Waldock. So Steve has proved himself to be Mr. Consistent when he's on form, and Matt, I think, has only ever done 6 races in a row in the points. So it's quite an interesting development, but David, who we see now, has actually finished every round in the points at the moment. So it just shows you why he's top of the board.
It does, and he has been one of those drivers, and I hate the phrase, but we do use it, that flies under the radar. There are some races where you almost ignore him, and yet come the end of it, and you look at the results, and you fill in your virtual program, there he is. You know, he's there or thereabouts.
Yeah, indeed. And good time to look at Tom Jacobs as he goes top by 8 thousandths of a second there in the Nodaphone car. So that shows you just how close it is around here. Dennis Melchett about 1.5 tenths off that. Derek Robb up there at the moment. He's in 4th place. And yes, those Team Jane Fonda cars do have some slight metallic effects on the red. It's not as obvious as some of the other cars, but it certainly does look good all the same. And
so you've been busy this week, have you, redoing liveries?
Oh,
That's what you're telling us. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. It took a while to perfect some of them because iRacing's metallic effects are not the friendliest, but speaking of friendly, Niall's getting friendly with the gravel at the moment. He's going to pull that over and go back to the pits and get some new tyres, I'm sure. Yes, one of the interesting teams championship battles is actually between Team Netcode and Team Jane Fonda. They're only 1 point apart at the bottom of the standings, so it's sort of bragging rights of we weren't last, really, between those two teams, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. The battle not to be last, not to be the worst, yeah. Carl Jacolette's had a bit of an up-and-down season, hasn't he?
Yeah.
You know, there are days where you felt that he's quite quick, and other days where he's flattered to deceive a bit.
Yeah, he's sort of just always been there or thereabouts, but when he's been battling, it's just been on the outer fringes of the top 10, so it's not quite been the points finishes that he wanted. There was an awesome last time we were actually at Silverstone International for rounds 5 and 6 of the championship. Himself and Ben Lambert, we were going to organise a ceremony and look at venues for them because they were stuck together throughout both races as Dennis Melchett goes top, pulls the car over straight away because he thinks, right, let's get back to the pits and see if we can better that. But we have 37 thousandths of a second separating the top 3, so these guys are really bringing their A game. And to be honest, over a session like this with the sun going down as quickly as it has, the track's only going to get cooler, so the grip, you've got to think, would actually increase over the end, well, towards the end of the session. As Dave Waldock responds fastest by just under a tenth.
That's good going, isn't it? He means business
definitely.
Here. He's not just doing this for something to do tonight. Whoops! Big moment for David Waldock. Across pit out.
That's got to be scary for Rob Lundgren.
Absolutely. We had a big accident in a similar vein at Silverstone last year in the Blancpain 3-hour race, the GT race, with a car spearing across and nailing somebody that was coming out of the pit lane. Anyway, David Waldock gets away with that, and he's the fastest, so if you've just done the top time, you can have your moment after that, can't you, rather than on that lap?
Yeah, he chose the right time to do it, so I'm sure it's easy for these guys to get into a rhythm and really focus, so I'm sure it woke him up. This is the garish new livery on Matt Draycott's car, which we've all seen has been just sort of grey and silver over the course of the series. Now it's got the complete chrome treatment, and he thinks it looks absolutely the dogs, but I'm undecided at the moment. In certain light it looks good, and in certain light, probably because I can see myself in it, it looks pretty terrible. But he's hoping that the extra chrome has sort of helped it be a bit more streamlined. But not at the moment. 12th place, but still on a track that's got a lap time of over a minute and a half. 1 second separating 13 cars is not bad going at all.
That's not bad at all. Yeah, the more you look at it, the more chrome you see. To begin with, I thought it doesn't look any different, but actually, it does. The more you stare at the tinfoil, the more it looks. He's nicked that from the pub kitchen, hasn't he? That's where he's got the chrome from.
He must have done. We've got some great comments coming in on the YouTube channel as well. Thanks very much, guys. Michael Blake showing us how to drift a Jetta. Go on, Michael, save it. Love it. Oh, he's just decided.
Oh no, gone to the beach. Yeah.
4D saying it's been a great series. Thank you very much, mate. Ian Fox as well saying it's been brilliant racing in comedy cars. And I think, to be honest, the bounciness of these machines and the lack of any decent noise has added to it, hasn't it? Because at the end of the day, the racing has still been fantastic from them. So it does show you that you don't need the most exciting looking and sounding cars in the world to have good racing, I suppose.
Well, that's true. Take Citroën 2CV racing as one of the closest and best one-make championships. You know, they make a horrible noise. They're a horrible shape. The cars are about 200 years old. They're all a bit raggy, and yet you will never see a bad Citroën 2CV race.
Well,
because underpowered cars stay together, and that's the beauty of it.
It's interesting you say that now, and I wasn't going to announce this that soon, but I'll say it on stream. I've just been sort of contacted to actually commentate on the 24 Hours of Snetterton that they're doing in a few weeks' time, which
fantastic.
I am really looking forward to. If it's not been completely confirmed yet, I've been contacted about doing it, and we're in talks, but.
Good for you. Excellent.
Thank you, mate. Thank you. It's I've watched them before at Alton Park, and when you're not laughing, you're enjoying the racing, because it's such a sight to see so many of them come round Old Hall on 3 wheels and just absolutely flat chat. It's such a great looking series as well, and I think I do have a bit of a soft spot for series like that, like the Fun Cup as well. They all do. You see them first and you think, what is that? And then when you watch the racing, it's epic, like beyond epic.
Didn't they run it at Mondello Park for a few years, the 24 Hours?
I think they might have done, yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't that where they had the fatality?
I'm
Blokes.
not
think,
sure.
yeah. Bloke starved to death in his stint. Yeah.
Oh God. Well, to be fair, I did tell Beth that they do a 24 hours of Spa, and she said, "Is it only 10 laps?" So, to be fair, I think she's onto something.
She's not wrong, not far off.
We look at Josh Rayfield, then you can see the sun setting in the background. Beautiful lighting here at Silverstone once again, and you can see the amount of lock he's putting on, and that says, I don't like my front tyres as they are. At the moment, though, these guys could just be trying to get temperature in them, wear them down a bit for the first lap, and we've seen a lot of them doing that. Draycott, Tom Jacobs goes top. There you go, 1:34.6, brilliant lap for him. Now it's only 66 thousandths separating the top 3, but wow, what a time.
Joking apart, Jacobs is going to be trouble. And I mean that in the nicest way, because he can't really win the championship, but he can affect the championship. Now, Tom Jacobs has had more wins than anybody else. He's had 5 wins. The next best is Dennis Melcher on 3. He's out of the running as far as the championship is concerned, but the problem that the two protagonists have got is that he's very, very quick, and he could win both races, or he could certainly win one, maybe win both, and he's taking points away from them. So he is the real spoiler in the pack here. They could well do without Tom Jacobs being here, and by rights, Tom ought to be fighting for a championship, because on pace and on wins, you know, he ought to be up there. But he's bad news as far as the others are concerned, because, like I say, he's going to potentially take points away and affect what they can earn out of this weekend, this race meeting. So they need to be ahead of him, come what may.
Yeah, indeed, as Melcher responds and goes fastest by nearly 2/10. So he has got his head down now, and he wants to focus on getting that championship point as well, don't forget, for pole position. So he's going to try and close that gap to Dave Waldock, who's just behind him on track, as quickly as he can, as they all run wide through the... Oh, especially Derek Robb doing a bit of a redesign there of the grounds of Silverstone. It's already been done, Derek, don't worry. This is all in the past. As Draycott does improve, but only to 9th, and Burke up there in 4th at the moment. He's sitting pretty, really, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Draycott needs to dig deep here, but having said all of this, you know, it's only a qualifying session. You never know what's going to happen over the first couple of corners. And that run, as you've been looking at through Ireland, is a proper pinch point. It always used to give drama on the first couple of laps, that. So, and Abbey as well. So, a bit like we've seen in other rounds of the British Touring Car Championship, you've got to keep out of trouble. Steve Burke's on the money. He's on the curb as well.
He is certainly riding them a lot. But that's the thing. These guys chuck them about a lot. And one thing that some of these drivers that weren't really experienced when they weren't experienced with this car coming into the series, they didn't realise quite how bad the wobble and the bounce was in this car. So you'll see everyone taking curbs in certain corners where they're not putting too much lock on. But then corners like this where you're trying to get the run, you want to avoid the grass, because as soon as that car starts bouncing and gets unsettled, they lose so much traction. And the key to staying smooth is stay away from any bumps or anything. But around a circuit like this, where there is a bit of a bumpy surface here and there, it's not that easy.
So how long we've got left in this qualifying session then? Only about a minute and a half or so. Yeah. And unless David Waldock can dig deep, he's going to lose a point, and he's going to be a row back on the grid, which is far from ideal, isn't it?
It is, and he's stuck behind Derek Robb at the moment. These two are very good mates, and I'm not sure whether Derek's giving him some sort of slipstream or just entertainment as he drifts the car around in front of him. He's certainly making it light-hearted. He's loads of lock on. He's all over the shop. Something tells me that this is just Dave Waldock not quite going for this lap. It may be an out lap, but we'll soon see. As Fraser Smith up to 4th place displaces Steve Burke. We know that Fraser's been quick in qualifying, and he's not been able to practice this week either, so it's good going really, considering he's not put the laps in. 4th row of the grid at the moment is currently the 2 Team Jane Fonda cars, separated by absolutely nothing.
You've got another one off at the bottom of Abbey, up the Escape Road onto the Grand Prix circuit.
That was, I think, Waldock. He's gone back to the pits now. Interesting. So that's going to be his best finishing position for this session then. 3rd, he's not going to improve.
That's him down, isn't it?
Interesting though. But he may know. So Michael Blake has gone 4th. I've just missed that there. He's just displaced Smith, and suddenly Steve Burke finds himself down in 6th place. But to be fair, he's still a couple of places ahead of Matt, and he needs to outscore him. But 14 points over the course of an evening is not too straightforward unless he has a really good feature race, and Matt has a very poor result in that one.
Just for the benefit of clarity, points in race 1 go down to 10th?
Yes, they're 10th in both races.
10th in both, but slightly different weighting for the feature race.
Yes. 10 on offer for first, all the way down in increments of 1 for the sprint race, and then in the feature race it's the current F1 point system, so it's 25, 18, 25 onwards, 15, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1. Which I've recited far too many times for my own good when trying to come up with what to do next. It's the championship points are changing for season 2 as well. We will talk about that a little bit further on, but we have this going on at the moment. Steve Burke hugs the inside line, goes across the line, and does not improve. It's a 34.929. His fastest was a 34.82. Anyone going to finish a lap? Josh Rayfield coming across the line. Josh has been a dark horse this season, hasn't he? He's been always sort of up there come the feature race, but sprint races not so much.
No, he's flattered to deceive a little bit, hasn't he? Really, he's always been on the cusp of doing something good.
Yeah, and well, we've seen his fantastic racecraft and his amazing manoeuvres that he's managed to pull off at certain rounds. And going back to Alton Park, around the outside of Druids, around the outside of Hawthorne in the first race of the season at Brands Hatch, which is not a usual overtaking place, but Josh makes it work. We've got, I believe, Tom Jacobs just coming across the line here, just ahead of Morgan Butler. Does Tom improve? Will anyone other than Dennis Melchett or Fraser Smith take a pole position this season? Doesn't look like it at this point. These guys are on an in-lap, so that will be it, I believe, and that means we only have 2 drivers that have ever taken pole position in the British Boring Car Championship. But importantly, for Dennis, that is an extra point on his tally towards Dave Waldock. So the championship lead now comes down to 7 points between the two of them, and it's only going to get more and more exciting as this night goes on. So make sure you keep an eye on that Ericsson Hitters machine. Dave Waldock will be starting directly behind him on the grid with his teammate alongside him. In the 4th row of the grid will be the Team Jane Fonda cars. The rest of it is all a bit of a mix, so we'll see what goes on there. But well, it's bound to be an absolute corker, this one, and a great way to end the season, isn't it, as well, with the light going down at Silverstone.
Absolutely right, and this is, as I say, how touring car championships, how any championship really ought to be resolved, with it going down to that last race of the season. It's absolutely as it should be. So Dennis Melchett then, starting in the box seat, did a very good job in that session.
He did indeed, and here is L Grid. So Dennis Melchett alongside Tom Jacobs, then the 2 most winningest drivers in the series, with Dave Waldock and Michael Blake on row 2. Then it's Fraser Smith and Steve Burke, Morgan Butler and Derek Robb on row 4, with Josh Rayfield and Matt Draycott starting in 10th position. Andy Fox is alongside Carl Jacquelet on row 6, and then we have Rob Lundgren Ben Lambert and Niall Crowther propping up the times once again. Niall will not be too chuffed with that. He'll want to improve when Season 2 undoubtedly comes around. But here we go then. Round 15 of the British Touring Car Championship and the first race of the final meeting of the season is away, and it's a poor launch by David Waldock. He's going to get swallowed up by his teammate Fraser Smith and Steve Burke in there with him as well. Michael Blake's got away well. Fraser Smith looking down the inside of Waldock. David needs to play this safe now. Fraser Smith doesn't need to worry about that. Let's have a look at how they get on. It's nearly 3 wide there as the two Team Jane Fonda cars are side by side behind them. It looks like everybody getting away with it. Waldock's in the wall. Waldock has been turned by Steve Burke. Contact straight away, and that's just... It's almost like this is written, isn't it, David?
Proper touring car championship, you see. High drama. Turn 1, race 1. Off the road goes David Waldock, and involved Steve Burke, who had made a good start and gained a place. He's now gained another one through rather robust tactics, it seems. But of course, he's also a driver fighting for a championship this evening. Now, he would have picked up some damage. He did that last time out and got away with it at Brands Hatch. Here it is again. Look, he's on the back of David Waldock, goes to the outside line, then tries to move across, tags the back of him. I'm afraid to say on that evidence, Steve Burke's got a case to answer, hasn't he?
Yeah, I'd say so in that case. It was a bit of moving around on the exit, which, you know, we see naturally at racing circuits, but at the same time, they should have both given each other a bit more room. There's a bit of argy-bargy in the background there. That was Andy Fox and Rob Lundgren having a bit of fun. Fraser Smith and Morgan Butler were side by side in there. Matt Draycott is just watching behind this as well. Josh Rayfield paying them a lot of attention too. Josh looks down the inside of Butler, but it's not quite worked yet. But we've got a great snake of cars already at the end of lap 1, but Dave Waldock then, he is 10 seconds, 11 seconds off Niall Crowther at the back of the field. We'll have a quick look and see what his damage is like. That's a very heavily damaged car on the right hand side, and of course no pit stop in this race either to get that repaired, so he's got no freebies here, David. He just needs to wrestle that thing round.
Yeah, what he can do now is damage limitation, because you never know what might happen ahead of him. You never know what might pan out and delay others. So he's going to pit anyway, isn't he? Yeah. So David Waldock then straight away, potentially here, is about to give away a further 10 points. He's given away 1 by not getting pole position, but I'm afraid to say that the evening, the championship, now looks to be going from bad to worse.
It does indeed. I did say to him and Dennis beforehand, if Dennis gets pole and wins race 1, David needs to be 8th or better, otherwise they'll be tied on points going into the last round, and it's all fair game. This is Tom Jacobs on the back of Dennis Melchett though, so Dennis is not having it all his own way, and like you said earlier, David, he is going to have to watch his back here, because Jacobs will be that spoiler in the pack. But look at this, 3 wide almost coming down here. Draycott on Rayfield on Butler as there's contact, and Derek Robb gets involved.
Everybody's getting involved at the moment, and Draycott gets delayed in all of that as well. So as the cars accelerate their way up, the more drama, look, and off the road goes Rob Lundgren. And we had also there, by the look of it, one of the dodgy MOT cars in all of that. So
and
more strife. It was, wasn't it?
Not so fantastic, Mr. Fox.
Yeah, he brakes late, runs out wide. Lundgren gets up the inside, tries to go for the racing line, but he was never far enough ahead that. So again, they've both got a bit of a case to answer there, I'm afraid.
They do indeed. They do indeed. And someone that's going to be getting a bit frustrated here is Matt Draycott. He's got these cars battling in front of him, and he'll want to take advantage and make his way further forward to go chasing after Steve Burke and make sure that that does not open up any further. But as things stand, Steve will be getting 7 points to Matt's 2. So he'll only gain a handful of them over him at the moment, but even still, it's still gaining points as Draycott gets a good run on Derek Robb out of turn 1. And we'll keep an eye on how he gets on. Josh Rayfield went for a hot dog in the stands in the background there. Looks like Draycott's got this done on Derek Robb. Nice clean move. And it's going to be interesting over the course of the night as well to see who realises who else is in a battle for the championship around them. So whether they give them any special treatment. And Steve Burke now is going for 3rd place.
It's all getting properly Larry, this, isn't it now? So Steve Burke, despite the damage, makes his move up on the inside. So despite what the race director may have in store for him at the end of the race after the earlier contact, he's thinking about his mediocre Cup for Independence. He's up the inside line. That's a good move down the inside as long as they don't make contact coming out of Abbey. Steve Burke stands his ground on the inside line. These two actually not that far off the top 2, are they? Melchett and Jacobs in all of this. So battle is renewed, but Steve Burke will get the inside line here coming through Bridge Bend. He's going to be on the outside line for Priory, so that gives the opportunity back to Michael Blake, who breaks late, goes through, takes the place back again. this is exactly what we used to have at Silverstone because of the switchback nature coming into the stadium. Steve Burke chances his arm on the inside line there going into Brooklands, gets his nose ahead up towards Luffield, he's on the outside line, and Michael Blake goes back through. They've spent the best part of, a third of a lap side by side, and only now does Blake finally assert himself once more.
It's just crazy racing though, but brilliant stuff from the pair of them. We've got Josh Rayfield coming in the pits for some reason. I'm not quite sure what's happened there for Josh. He's got a bit of damage on the left rear, but we'll have to look back at this though, because Steve got the run out of the final corner because of the outside line. He carried the momentum. He's going to do the same around turn 1 as well, and now going towards Maggots and Beckett's, or what would be Maggots and Beckett's anyway. He's going to be on the inside, then the outside, and then maybe the inside again as they go down towards Abbey. So this is crazy, crazy stuff, but neither of them want to give an inch here, and Fraser Smith all this time is closing in and watching this develop. Well, there he goes.
Absolutely. There he is. Look, it's now 3 for third, isn't it? The three of them are together. Now, while he is closing up, so is his teammate Tom Jacobs on the race leader Dennis Melchett, because Tom has done the fastest lap of the race. There they are. There's a gnat's crotchet between them as they come down towards Abbey. So Tom Jacobs hustling on, getting onto the back of Dennis Melchett. He was 0.2 quicker, so a fifth of a second quicker last time around. Michael Blake still fending off Steve Burke. What he needs to do is try and stack Steve Burke now into the clutches of Fraser Smith. Let those two squabble and he can try and get away, but it's easier said than done. And then the next battle pack for 6th place is being headed by Matt Draycott, who has gained 4 places, amazingly, out of all of this. And he also is perhaps going to benefit with that battle ahead. He's just drawing a fraction closer.
Yeah, Matt's actually done a really good job there to get past these guys. He passed Josh Rayfield and then he's passed Morgan Butler, so he's got rid of those two, although Josh actually went in the pits, didn't he? So there was a freebie, but he still got past Morgan Butler. We'll have a look at how he did that. It's just going to be down into the hairpin. Maybe the chrome put Morgan off, I suppose. It's very garish, but he's made it clear he doesn't want to be an independent next season, so if he takes this crown, he'll be like an outgoing champion of that series. Morgan gives him plenty of room. Through he goes. It's close still between Fraser and Steve here.
You're right. That car of Matt Draycott's, it's all very bling in it. But he's also lapping quicker than is Steve Burke, because on the last 2 laps he's been quicker than his mediocre cup rivals. So Draycott is going about this the right way. Now Burke, of course, is in this invidious position of trying to attack and defend at the same time. He looks for a way past Blake. He's got to try and defend from Smith, so he can't leave the door even fractionally ajar. Otherwise, Fraser Smith will be past him in a flash.
Yeah, Fraser won't need asking twice. Niall Crowther is unfortunately out of the race. He says that his Windows OneDrive has done an update halfway through and closed iRacing. He's put OneDrive doing an update halfway through. Love it. So unfortunately, as it comes to a head there between Rob and Draycott's involved. Draycott's got damage. Let's have a look at what happened here then, boys. What has gone on here? Butler is in this as well. He's going to surely open the door, is he, David?
Let's have a look. Matt Draycott is ahead. There is a gap on the inside. Derek Robb dive bombs through. There was sort of room for all of them, but not totally. As far as Matt Draycott is concerned, we was robbed because it was Derek that got involved with him. But yeah, it's cost him time, cost him places, but crucially cost him points, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has indeed. And I've got to wonder as well, will that car be damaged to the point where he has to come in? It doesn't look too bad. But iRacing does have quite a strict meatball policy, it says.
Right.
He is 9th, though, and Ben Lambert ahead of him as well. Ben's on his way to get a couple of championship points at the moment. The lights have come on as well, so we're finally under lights in the final meeting of the season. And it's only going to get darker and darker from here and more shiny with the chrome. Back of your shot, though, Tom Jacobs is really still staying with Dennis here, so he's doing a good job of it, but he's not looked too aggressive in trying to overtake yet. Do you reckon he's just biding his time?
I was just wondering whether it's biding his time or actually not wanting to affect the championship, because he would like to win the race, I'm sure, but he's also mindful that he can't win the championship, and he doesn't want to be the person that gets involved with Dennis Melchett and puts him out of the race, for example. So it might be that Tom is being very respectful here and perhaps hoping that Dennis makes a mistake. It might be that he's biding his time. Let's see, because he closes right up under braking at Abbey there.
Yeah, he's
certainly not done yet, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's pushing for the time, isn't he? Oh, Jackalette was up to 6th and he's gone straight on at the hairpin. Not sure whether that was his own doing or not. Just trying to find... Let's have a look then at what caused this. So this is just going down to the hairpin as normal. Is Carl just going to miss his braking point? That's going in hot. Yeah, he's just missed his point, unfortunately. Straight over it goes, blends in with the grass. And then Draycott has now got another position off Ben Lambert as well while that was happening. Although he's not managed to make it stick. So Ben isn't making it easy for his mate, or is he? No, he's got out of the way there, so Matt can go chasing. They are schoolmates, or they were, of course. They're a bit old for school now, but him, Niall, and Ben, all primary school friends from years and years ago. So it looks like it's paid off for Matt at the minute. But here's this battle for third place that's still not over here, David. It's still kicking off.
It is. Fraser Smith is all over Steve Burke like a rash. Burke is all over the back of Blake, who goes way, way wide coming out of Copse Corner. Finds something that resembles the racing line, gets back onto the circuit, hangs onto his third place, but they're all getting a bit scrappy now. Up through Maggots, into Beckett's, then Draycott go into the Ireland S's, as was. And out of all of this, the one that you're kind of expecting the most from is Fraser Smith. He's probably the quickest, but certainly the least erratic of the three, isn't he?
Yeah, he's biding his time here, I think, and just waiting for the opportunity. It looks like it might be a bit of easy pickings here if he goes down the inside of Steve Burke. He, of course, doesn't care for the championship with these guys, although Steve's found an open door down the inside of Michael Blake once again. Not quite getting it done there. Very close again between these guys. Behind this, Morgan Butler is sat in 6th place. He's got half a second over Matt Draycott. And then Ben Lambert is now just holding on for some points. Jackolet's got Derek Robb behind him. Of course, Derek losing some positions due to the slight bit of contact earlier. So it's a bit of a muddled order at the moment. Dave Waldock, by the way, out in a fresh car, has overtaken Andy Fox, but he's down in 12th place. It may work into his favour for the reverse grid, but at the same time, he's just got to keep his wits about him in this one and try and get some points out of it. But Dennis Melchett will know that as well. Dennis Melchett will be thinking, right, if he's really far down the order, then surely he's in with a good shout of a decent reverse grid position. So
yeah,
it is a rule that's being outlawed for Season 2, because at the end of the day it's a bit of an unfair advantage in some ways. If you have a bad race 1, then it's pretty much guaranteed you good points in race 2. But I didn't think about that when I set it up, so well done, Chaz. But all the same, it'll be good fun to see how Season 2 comes along. Steve Burke and Michael Blake still not leaving each other alone.
Not at all, because Steve Burke's got the inside line. This should be the place now, because he's teed it up beautifully, coming all the way through Maggots into Beckett's. He's got the inside line for Ireland, and he should now be able to stand his ground on the inside all the way down to Abbey. He's on the outside for the exit of Ireland. This section will put him on the back foot, but he drops back a little bit. Now, the road comes to him. Now, which way also here does Michael Blake go? He's trying to defend from Burke. He's trying to keep Fraser Smith at bay. Up the inside should go Steve Burke. He's alongside. He's got his nose in front. He will also have the inside line for the next corner, but he's got to get the job done here. Otherwise, at priori, it is going to be Michael Blake that comes back through. Fraser Smith is there behind the pair of them, trying to get a toe off anybody. But Blake's got the get up and go in a straight line, hasn't he? Because look, round the outside, he retakes third place, going through Bridge Bend.
Oh, that was a fantastic bit of racing between the pair of them. Nice and respectful, giving each other the room they need. No contact, really. I think Fraser was probably pushing Steve Burke along as Ben Lambert takes a trip to the garden centre as Carl Jackolet dives down the inside now. The Paula Cook replica car doing a good job there of becoming a lawnmower. Oh, that's a really odd bit of contact there. That's broken something on Ben's car, surely. Carl Jackolet is off and in the wall. That was a real wheel bang there. Launched the car up in the air. Something is broken on the front left of Ben Lambert's car. You can see it leaning. That's a nightmare, that is. And it shows you just how fragile these cars can be. And Jackolet in the background, you can see him just trying to get the car back into shape. Ben's car really struggling there. Melchett only
It's not a puncture.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, if it's not a puncture, at least it'll be damaged suspension, won't it? Because it was a proper whack, that. So Ben Lambert, you can see how the car's barely able to go in a straight line now. He's twitching, it's crabbing, he's going to limp to the pit lane. We've lost Carl Jackolet to the pit lane, so it's going to be a very jumbled grid for race 2, and we're not done yet, are we? We've done 8 laps, and down towards Abbey they come. Right, Steve Burke's had a go at this, so here is take 2. Where's the gap on the inside line? Not able to exploit it this time. Fraser Smith, I'm a little bit surprised he's still stuck there behind the pair of them. Maybe he's waiting for it to end in tears, but either way, he looks like he's the quicker, but he just hasn't yet found that opportunity. Maybe this is it now. The inside line at Bridge Bend lines up to have a go against Steve Burke. And again, the door is closed.
It's just, you're not allowed in, Fraser. Sorry, mate. It's just fantastic, though, to see him trying so hard, but still keeping it nice and clean and respectful. And I think either way, he's going to be happy to get some championship points, because we've seen him qualify well before, and he's just not managed to get the race results with his slightly argy-bargy nature like we saw at Snetterton when he first turned up in the championship. But Steve has now lost out a little bit to Michael Blake there, so with one more lap to go, Michael will be hoping that that gap stays as is, but as we've seen before, nothing is certain until they've crossed the line at the very end. And that's the same to be said about this as well, because Tom Jacobs is within 0.3 of a second now of Dennis Melcher, and he's not really been any further than half a second off him for the whole race.
No, he's just sat there, hasn't he, really? Every time we've seen them, it has been this constant gap. Dennis Melcher's constant shadow has been that Vodafone car. And I'm not quite sure what it is that stopped Tom Jacobs. It's like he's missing that final 10th, isn't it, to be able to have a real go at Dennis Melcher. Or he's got a master plan, which is to pounce at the end of this last lap of the race. But he's running out of time and running out of options. And, of course, although David Waldock is up into the top 10 now, he needs Jacobs to try and take any point available off Melcher. So from Waldock's point of view, he wants Jacobs to get on with this, but Dennis Melcher has done the job really well to fend him off race long.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job. He's just kept it nice and clean. The body language of that car never looked like it was under threat, really. So Dennis has done everything right at the moment. Tom is going to try and line it up, though. He's putting a bit more lock on. He's getting a bit aggressive into these final few corners. Shows his nose. Still doesn't look like he's going to do it. In the background as well, by the way, Steve Burke has got past Michael Blake. We'll come back and have a look at that. But if you want to start going for a championship and start your evening off the best way, take a look at Dennis Melcher. Pole position, converts to race 1 win. He now ties with Tom Jacobs as the most winningest driver in the series. 4 wins apiece. Melcher wins round 15. Jacobs second. And Steve Burke, very importantly in the Independents Championship, is going to take another podium. Blake 4th, Smith 5th. That was a fantastic scrap between them. Morgan Butler 6th, just ahead of Matt Draycott. 7th place, it'll do for him for now. Derek Roll finishes 8th. Josh Rayfield will be the 9th place driver, surely, unless some major accident happens now before the line. And then, importantly as well, David Waldock, after that contact on lap 1, well, that could have shaped it up massively, but still, 1 point difference is, well, we've seen championships decided for less, haven't we?
We have, and with what, a lap and a half to go, even they can be decided, can't they? But yes, 7 places lost from his grid position, David Waldock. Even getting into the top 10 and getting a point was quite something. So what does that give us? 144 for him and 146 for Dennis Melcher, given his pole position point. Is that right?
Let me have a look. I will try and do my maths. And oh, there's the move by Steve Burke. Look at that. Lovely stuff.
That was good.
Lovely
nice.
cutback. Oh, bit of contact on the exit as well. Just to say, oi, mind it. But Steve got it done, and then the gap opened up surely at Bridges. Yeah, Steve gets the inside line. Michael has to concede it, although it got feisty, defended it. There was a bit of contact, actually. So, wow, that was really fierce stuff between the two of them. But great to watch all the same. But here is your race 1 winner then, Dennis Melcher. Fantastic result once again for him. His 4th race win of the season. Only 0.2 of a second though back to Tom Jacobs. Steve Burke rounding it out with another podium. Michael Blake finishing 4th for Might Just Fit. Fraser Smith in 5th place with Morgan Butler in 6th place. Matt Draycott 7th. He's going to have to watch out for Steve in this final race, I think. Derek Robb 8th. Josh Rayfield 9th. And David Waldock in 10th position. And I will confirm in just 2 seconds. You will hear me typing this in because I'm literally just going to make sure that this gets done properly. I just want to calculate the team's championship at this point just to make sure that whether they've done it or not, essentially. We'll have to have a look. Because Might Just Fit could have wrapped up the team's championship. We'll have to have a look at what their total points are. We'll figure that out in the break anyway. But we have lots of maths to do at this end. We've got another session to set up. So if you join David and I in about 10 minutes' time, we'll be back with you in the British Touring Car Championship for the final round of the season here at Silverstone. Don't go away. We do have the reverse grid to do as well, by the way. I've just, sorry, I was just too busy putting the results in, just so we've got that. We're going to do the reverse grid now. It's anywhere from 10th to 16th to see what that brings out. So here is me holding down the key to generate the formula. And there we go. And it's 13, so Carl Jacquelet. Although actually, no, Carl was 2 laps down, so it's Ben Lambert on pole position alongside Andy Fox. Dave Waldock will be 3rd, with Josh Rayfield 4th and Derek Robb in 5th. So Dennis Melcher will be starting the final round from 12th on the grid. This is going to be a real fight to the end then for these guys. We'll be back with you in a few minutes though with race 2 and the final round of the championship.
Those nights when we were younger and we would never sleep. So let's forget about tomorrow and live for tonight while we're free. Touch the sky. Tonight we're coming alive. Touch the sky. Tonight we're coming alive. From the dust we will awaken, and life will fill our veins. But these are the moments that we live for. I can keep it inside of me. Touch the sky. Tonight we're coming alive.
I hope you're all enjoying the broadcast so far, and I hope you have enjoyed this championship as well. I've been very grateful to everyone that's been watching and enjoying the series for what it is. It's been a hell of a lot of fun to put all this together for you guys, and there will be a season 2, so don't you worry yourselves. You'll see it soon enough, and we'll get everything all announced and sorted. There will be some news very soon, but we'll be back in just 2 seconds. Okay then, so very quickly the second session is upon us and the final round of the championship is here. So the maths then. So Dennis Melcher leads the championship now by 2 points to David Waldock, who even if he gets those 2 points will still finish second in the championship because Dennis has more wins than him by 2. So David cannot match that. In the teams championship, now I won't lie, I actually got very excited that the Might Just Fit team could wrap up the championship in the first race tonight, and I even prepared special liveries for them to have champions on the windscreen banners, just like the Fords did in 2000. But they are 2 points away from wrapping that up, so they've not quite done it, so they don't get that pleasure. However, Chaz Draycott and David Addison back in the booth with you. David, that race was dramatic as we wanted it, isn't it? Well, wasn't it? Sorry.
Absolutely right, and it set us up nicely then for the championship showdown. So Abacus at the ready, and we've got a longer race, we've got pit stops. I mean, this is, again, it takes me back, I tell you, to Silverstone 2000 and the night race, and being in the main commentary box overlooking Woodcote as it got dark and you had the championship played out in the night with glowing red hot brakes and the lights on the cars. It was quite an atmosphere. Night racing engenders a special atmosphere, but when there's a championship up for grabs as well, even more so. So now, with the natural light fading, the headlights piercing the gloom, the warm-up session or the final practice session is underway, and just looking at what David Waldock has got to do here, fundamentally he's got to somehow get himself ahead of Dennis Melcher. If he does that in the top 3, then he's okay, he could take the championship by a point. But if he's doing that 4th, 5th, 6th and down, because of the points difference, he's only equaling and losing out on the tie break. So David Waldock has got to be, ideally, in the top 3 and 1 place, maybe 2, ahead of Dennis Melcher. But the good news for him is he's on the second row of the grid, and Dennis Melcher's going to start a long way back.
Yeah, that's it. Well, no, it's the reverse grid, don't forget. So he's got, I think, 3rd place. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and Dennis Melcher is what, 12th on the grid,
He
6th
will
row
be,
of the
yeah.
grid. So
Yeah.
he's got a lot of work to do. So although yes, it was a bad first race for David Waldock, the consolation prize, if you like, is twofold. One is he's got a better grid position, but actually, if that now sets him up for a better race result, this is the one with greater points. So he's got a chance of doing better in terms of an overall tally. But when you've got 25 points for a win and a difference of 3 between 1st and 2nd and 3 between 2nd and 3rd, rather than just 1 point incremental difference as you had in the sprint race, pendulum swings back his way a bit.
Yeah, it will do. I'm sure that over the course of this race, he's just going to play it safe, and it's going to be an interesting one to see how Dennis does in getting through the pack and whether we see him get hindered by anybody or let through by anybody, because I know a lot of the guys are a big fan of Dennis. He's a very funny bloke, and he's been great to have, I would say, in the paddock, but in the Discord. He's a very, very funny
The
guy.
virtual paddock.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Well,
He had a netcode car off the road there, which is arguably the best place for netcode, but one of them has gone rally crossing coming. There it is. It's Cole Jacqueline, I think, coming out of Brooklands, that was. I feel as though I should have had my BRDC pass around my neck to do this last race, but anyway, I think the clubhouse is closed, so I'd have to make do with a cup of coffee next to me. Right, Derek Robb is only, well, he's not yet done the time, has he? So he needs to extract digit here. Andy Fox, fastest within this practice session.
He's doing all right, is Andy Fox. He had a bit of a nightmare in that first race, so he'll want to have a good one here. I think Carl Jacquelin's doing practice starts there.
That's useful.
Well,
I'll go down well with it. I mean, he's doing it right outside race control, right in front of the clerk of the course. That's Surefire way to win friends, that is.
He's hot back to the pits now. I've apparently got my mum watching, my mum and Lawrence. Hello, Mum. Good evening. She's actually, I was speaking to her yesterday evening. She was saying it's very strange because
That's nice of you.
I was
Once a week, is it? Yeah.
yeah. It was my brother's sim racing position, I should say. He's not got a rig or anything. He races directly above the living room, so they're sitting in the living room watching this right now. He is above them racing with me commentating on it, and they've really enjoyed hearing yourself as well, of course, David. They are big
Thank
fans. And yeah, it's a bit surreal really when you're in that situation, isn't it? You've got one son commentating, one son racing, and they're in completely different places.
We had a slightly similar situation for the European Truck Racing Esports Championship I've been doing. And it started off with just an English commentary, and then it grew because of the different markets that they sell the championship to, which included the Czech Republic, so Czech commentator, Spain, Spanish commentator, France, French commentator. And we had a delayed start to one of the races because the French stream went down. Why did the French stream go down?
Did it give
Because
up?
Fabien Calvet, who is the French commentator, is using the broadband downstairs to commentate on the race. Malheureusement, his son Theo Calvet, who is Le Pilote pour le Bagheera Racing Team, is upstairs on the same broadband trying to be in the race.
Love it, absolutely love it. Well, I've
The broadband est disparu, so they had to do a bit of jiggery pokery. From then on, this shows you how serious it got. From then on, Theo Calvet was dispatched from France to the Czech Republic to go and use the rig at the race team near Prague to go race. So his father could have the broadband.
That is serious. I like that. I like the
It's a bit
logistics.
committed,
in
then,
that. Yeah, definitely. Really good commitment. That is. I'll be expecting a knock on the door from my brother soon, asking if he can use my sim rig, but I'll tell him no. My new Vodafone broadband, hey, listening Vodafone, is terrible. But there we go. Michael Blake, teammate of David Waldock, will be one of the first cars, providing that Dennis starts making his way through the field. Michael Blake will be one of the first cars that Dennis gets to in this reverse train. So you've got to think, will team orders come into this, or will he do anything to hinder him? Because last time we had this situation, and it was David Waldock leading the race, Michael Blake was a lap down, but between him and traffic. But Michael got out of the way because he was a lap down. He, to be fair, he was really respectful about it, and he got out of the way. But if this is for position, I can't see that going the same way this time.
No, and now there's a championship up for grabs. There wasn't a Brands Hatch, was there? You're right. I mean, he did do the right thing. We were speculating as to whether he was going to influence matters, but he got out of the way, did it right. But now it's all very serious. There is a championship, might be a virtual one, but it's still a title on the line. So it's going to be interesting to see how that mindset pans out. However, all is about to be revealed, isn't it?
It is indeed then. Here will be thine grid. Ben Lambert will start on pole position with Andy Fox alongside him on the front row. Dave Waldock then third with Josh Rayfield in fourth place. Derek Robb fifth alongside Matt Draycott with Morgan Butler and Fraser Smith, and Michael Blake between him and Steve Burke. The gap there between them two is 10 points. We then have Tom Jacobs and Dennis Melcher, Carl Jackalette, Rob Lundgren and Niall Crowther. So here we go then. The revs rise, not that you can hear them. The final round of the British Boring Car Championship Season 1 is away, and it's another poor start from third for Dave Waldock. He's going to have deja vu here. He's going to hope he doesn't get run wide and pounced on in the rear by anybody here, but seems like a bit of a tame start for everyone. Dennis Melcher just assessing his options in the middle of the field. There is Michael Blake. There's a bit of contact up front. I think it was Josh Rayfield just running wide. It all looks pretty well sorted out at the moment. Ben Lambert and Andy Fox are side by side for the race lead. Through the left-hander they go. Dave Waldock just behind Josh Rayfield. He's pouncing on this and he's taking the chance to get to the front here, David. He's going for it.
Indeed so, but Andy Fox is a man on a mission. He leads as they go through Ireland for the first time. Then he's about 2 lengths up already. In other news, as you see one of the two Ericsson Hittas cars, that was Rob Lundgren, I think, bouncing all over the curb. Steve Burke has lost 3 places, which is significant in the Mediocre Cup for Independents, but David Waldock has gone 1 spot back. Matt Draycott, he's on his way up the order. There he is. Look, he's about to get dived on by Fraser
Dennis!
Smith, who careers across the road.
Dave Waldock!
And there is mayhem.
He's hit Dave Waldock as well. There's cars all over the shop. There's cars getting turned around. Lundgren and Crowther are together. But Dave Waldock, Fraser Smith took out pretty much most of the field in that one there. That was a massive accident. There's a lot of cars with damage. They've obviously got a pit, but the pit window is laps 4 to 10. So even if these guys pit to repair the damage now, we've seen Steve Burke make it last over the course of a race. But that has thrown the championship in the air once again for Dave Waldock, getting caught up in someone else's accident, David.
And there he is off the road, coming past the BRDC clubhouse then, near the old Sport Race pits. But I'm not quite sure what Fraser Smith was up to there, because either that suggests something went wrong with the car. He just didn't brake at all, did he? And he hits 1, 2, 3 all in one go. And other people have their own accidents in avoidance. And then there was that moment as well, look, as Niall Crowther got shoveled out of the way by Rob Lundgren. Race director's going to be busy after this, isn't he?
I am.
Yes, exactly.
So, Jackalette runs wide, clips Butler. Lundgren just doesn't slow down for it, and he keeps his foot into the side of Crowther. That's a bit of a naughty one as well, that he'll get a slap on the wrist for. But meanwhile, it's all trying to sort itself out at the front. This is Jacobs looking down the inside of Derek Robb. Wow, and Rapid Scorpion in the chat says, talk about last day of term. Yeah, you're not lying, mate.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And out of all of this, Dennis Melchett is up into third. And let me lose my broadcasting virginity for a moment and say something I've never had to do before. Matt Draycott's up into second place. So now he's gained 4 places. Look, he could even win outright the way that he's going here, because he's closing onto the back of Andy Fox. The gap between them is only about half a second. Dennis Melchett is set to win the championship now, seemingly, because he's third already after a lap and a half. And he's got straight panels on the car, which makes it unique compared to everybody else's. And David Waldock is 10 places further worse down the order. He's down 10, or he was. He just gained 1 spot back. But David Waldock, again, through no fault of his own, he's out of the reckoning. But it's 3 for the race lead.
There was a bit of contact there. Draycott just getting very close to the back of Andy Fox's car. Andy has won a race this season. We do apparently have the music still on. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you very much. Apologies. I can't hear the music at this end. You see, it's actually processed through the streaming software, so I didn't hear that. But thank you, guys. Mucho appreciate. But this is the race lead battle now. Andy Fox leading Draycott, but like you say, David, having Melchett there is not what was in the plan for Dave Waldock. But to be honest, neither was the absolute meteor that was Fraser Smith and his brakes, unfortunately. But it'd be a shame for that to have decided the championship. But as things stand, it's looking like that's what it's going to be.
I think you're right. I mean, Melchett's gained 9 places. He's done the fastest lap of the race. Andy Fox leads by 1.6 seconds over Matt Draycott. Dennis Melchett third. Michael Blake is fourth. Steve Burke has gone back up the order now. He's gained a few more places. He's gained 5. He's fifth ahead of Derek Robb. Tom Jacobs is 7th. Carl Jackalette is 8th. 9th is Morgan Butler. 10th is Neil Crowther. But everything is aligned here for Dennis Melchett. He might have had 1 or 2 grim races mid-season, but when it counts, it's all coming good. Steve Burke, meantime, is under great pressure now from Derek Robb, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going to be watching his mirrors now, but Robb, after that slight attack, has now lost a bit of time, and Tom Jacobs is suddenly on the back of him as well. Tom had a fantastic first races ahead. Melchett flies down the inside of Draycott. These two could both be champions of their own right at the end of this race, and they're still scrapping away. They don't care. Well, I'm sure they do, but they're not looking like they're caring that much at the minute. They're having a good fight. Michael Blake wants to get in there as well. I would say he wants retribution for his teammate, but at the end of the day, it wasn't Dennis that hit him. He's innocent, Your Honour.
Absolutely right. Michael Blake might take points away from him, but of course Melchett started 2 up on David Waldock anyway. Having said all of that, David is chipping his way forward. He's back up into 11th place, so he might yet get into the points, and the result isn't sorted yet. You never know. Dennis Melchett is still in jeopardy because he's got cars all around him.
Yeah, there could be a little incident here or there. It's going to be a bit controversial if it's Michael Blake. Michael was not pleased about the incident between Steve and his teammate in the first race, so I'm wondering whether there may be anything done here. I'd hope not, and I'm sure that Michael will be racing to the fairest ability that he could possibly muster right now. Steve Burke is on the back of him as well, and so is Derek Robb, and then Tom Jacobs and Carl Jackalette. So we've got this big train of the first 8 cars here all together, and we've still got pit stops to think about. This is the first lap where they can pit now, lap 4. So we've got from here until lap 10 for them to get this done. Dave Waldock is in the pits, interestingly.
That's
now,
a lap early, isn't it? It
is for him, yeah, because this is him coming on to lap 4.
The start of lap 4, yeah. So he's done 3 passings of the timing line.
Yeah.
So he's in a lap early if he thinks that's going to be his mandatory stop, and therefore if he has to serve a second stop, then it's a snakes and ladders race where he slides back down the ladder.
Yeah, and if
potentially just undone everything there.
And unless anybody lets him know and he finishes the race, he will be disqualified because of the fact he didn't serve it in the window. We've only had one driver get disqualified for that, and that was Chris Coughlin. Here are the guys coming in the pit lane then. Matt Draycott in, Steve Burke in, so the two independent rivals. Tom Jacobs in as well. Melcher up to second now, chasing Andy Fox, and with a bit of clear air, not too much of it, barely even a second. It'll be interesting to see if he can jump Matt in the pits, but we've got Morgan Butler in as well. We'll have to keep an eye on what these guys do. I think Fraser Smith has also been in the pits, obviously for the damage earlier, and so has Dave. And Rob Lundgren has also done that too. So we've got Ben Lambert and Josh Rayfield out of the race. There is Dave Waldock. He's languishing down in 13th place now, but he does need to pit again. So there is the race leader as well, by the way. So he's got almost a lap to gain. We'll show you the map. And Dave Waldock is the slightly hidden dot in the very bottom right that is underneath the silver number 12. So he's got a lot of work to do now as Waldock, to say the least, and he needs to pit again. So I think, as harsh as it seems to say at this point, we don't know till it's over, but as things stand, that's championship over, surely.
It looks like it on that evidence. Then you factor in that Dennis Melchett is much, much quicker than anybody else. Look, because here he is. He's right on the back of Andy Fox. He lines up to have a dive down the inside going into Priory. Has he got the job done? Not quite, but he'll have the inside line going into Brooklands. Brakes late, uses a little bit of the curb. That's it. That puts him into the race lead then from 12 on the grid within 5 laps. That's good going.
It is, and you know, it's champion performance, and he's the only driver to win more than one race in a row this season, and he won 3 on the trot. He won 2 in one night at Donington, and he's going to try and do that again here. Andy Fox in the pit lane then. Michael Blake, Derek Robb, Carl Jacquelet all carrying on going through. Steve Burke is all over the back of Matt Draycott. Steve needs to outscore Matt by 11 points here to take the independent championship, so he's got a bit of work to do as well. But Matt,
interestingly, they were quite a long way apart before the pit stops. On the pit stops, Steve Burke has closed right up here.
Yeah, he has. He was a good second or so less in the pit lane than Matt was. And don't forget, we've got Andy Fox. He'll be coming out of his pit box any second now. He's just left said pit box, so keep an eye out for the headlights coming around the corner. Here they are, side by side. Steve Burke's gone down the inside of Matt Draycott and got the place. Matt won't be too worried about this at this point. Andy Fox does remain ahead. Tom Jacobs all over the back of Matt now as well. That's a bit close for comfort there with the Nodaphone driver. But Matt won't be too worried, like I say, because he's got 10 points over Steve Burke at the moment. So as things stand for him, he will be Mediocre Cup for Independent champion. But it's easier said than done, and Waldock is getting in a fight here with Lundgren further down the order for 12th place.
Plus, he's got to serve his regulation pit stop. I think he's been in twice anyway because of damage, but I'm sure that second pit stop was him miscounting. So somehow he needs to be told you've got to do it all over again. Otherwise, he's all academic to this because he's going to get excluded, isn't he?
He is indeed, unfortunately, as Melchett now dives in the pits. Michael Blake carries on, and as things stand with this in the teams championship, as you see, both of them might just fit cars together. As long as Michael Blake or Dave Waldock score 2 points between them in this race, they are teams champions. So there will still be some silverware for him, at least, if he doesn't make a recovery in this race. But yeah, it's a bit of a consolation, if anything. But this is effectively the battle for the race lead at the moment, because these are the highest guys that have pitted. Not that I condone any use of such substances. Pit stops at the moment, though. Melchett, as you can see, is just leaving his box now, and I think he might have this done as Dave Waldock's off the road and damaged again. Surely there was contact. Rob Lundgren has stopped as well. Rob Lundgren's come to strife. Dave down the inside. Oh, makes big contact with the back of Michael Blake. Oh, and then as Lundgren comes back on, Jacquelet avoids it as well and hits Rob. Oh, that's such a shame because Dave Waldock has now lost out because of that. He's back in the pit lane, and I think that's the fat lady singing, in all honesty.
It's a bit like a destruction derby, this, isn't it? The last one that moves wins, because we are losing now a fifth of the field. We've if not more, probably a third of the field now we've lost. But those that are still out there survive. Michael Blake leads Carl Jacquelet. They've yet to stop. They've stopped the opposition, but they've yet to make a pit stop. Out wide goes Matt Draycott. Up the inside line goes Tom Jacobs. So that's going to give him another place, and crucially, of course, put Draycott further back away from Steve Burke, who again is coming good in the second stint of the race.
He is. And again, Steve has finished 9 races in a row at the moment in the points. Well, 10, counting the first race of the night. So he's been Mr. Consistent for a good while now. And Jacobs just round the outside, makes it work on Draycott there. And the Nodaphone car moves up yet another position. Michael Blake and Carl Jacquelet both in the pit lane. There they are. But Dennis Melcher will surely maintain the lead of the race now. Let's have a look. We'll have to see what happens with Andy Fox trying to pile the pressure on. But Steve Burke is going for another position and another podium here. But Andy Fox, he's after that pit stop, he's looking racy here, David.
Yeah, again, it's interesting to see how some drivers come alive in the second stint. He won the equivalent race at Donington, didn't he, in the summer? The reverse grid feature race, pit stop race. So there he is on the back of Dennis Melcher, and the pace is very, very good. Now, the last lap wasn't a fair comparison because it was Dennis Melcher leaving from the pit lane. Now they're both on a flying lap, but they're running together. Dennis Melcher is not driving away into the distance. Steve Burke is almost there with them in third place. Michael Blake fourth. So a little bit of scrapping up front, and any one of this leading sextet could be in with a chance now, because fourth, fifth and sixth, Blake, Jacobs and Draycott. Up the inside line goes Fox. He goes through, he goes deep into the corner. Dennis Melcher, though, is under attack from Steve Burke, who wants an outright win out of all of this.
Well, Steve wants to be the first independent driver to win a race in the championship. Melcher is saying, not on your life, Andy Fox. You can stay over there. They're very close kissing wing mirrors. Steve down the inside. He's not going to make it work there, but Andy Fox, what a great bit of inspiration this is. He's just come alive and thought, oh, I've won a feature race before, I'm going to do it again. He runs wide, makes contact with Dennis Melcher. They're 3 wide. There's contact with Burke now as well. Melcher on the inside. He's surely going to get squeezed, but he's actually going to gain from this. Tom Jacobs has gone down the inside of Michael Blake as well. 5 cars for the lead here, David. This is bonkers.
It is indeed. Matt Draycott could win this if they all chip over themselves. Dennis Melcher got the race lead. Amazingly enough, he's kept the race lead out of all of that. I was about to propose that really he's the one that ought to be keeping out of trouble, because he leads on points. David Warnock's not going to score. He just needs to finish the race now. He doesn't need to be involved in a silly battle like this where there's the possibility of contact or damage or being wiped out. So either get ahead, stay ahead and pull away, or let him go.
Steve just moves across on the back of Andy Fox there and just taps him, and it upset Andy Fox's car a little bit. Steve onto the brakes now. More contact with the back of him. Blake gets into the side of Andy. Andy's going to come over. There's contact with Blake, and Steve Burke is around. He manages to get the car.
That sorts out your
right
mediocre
way.
car, doesn't it?
It does, and it's championships decided by contact. We didn't want it, and especially me. I've told the guys keep it calm, but well, this is the British not quite boring car championship by the look of it, because you never know how this is going to go. It's kicking off all over the place. Draycott then, well, he needed to finish within 10 points of Steve here. It sounds like someone else has had issues again. That's Morgan Butler and Carl Jacquelet having some sort of issue there. Let's have a look what happened here. Now, this was when Morgan got past Steve as Steve got going again. We'll have to just, I'm keeping an eye on the timing screen just in case anything kicks off, so we have to look away from this quickly, but this is down into the hairpin. Jacquelet was quite close to Morgan there by the look of it. Oh, Steve's gone in deep, into the back of Morgan quite hard, and just,
that was a good save.
It was, yeah. It just looks a bit too forced at the moment from Steve Burke. Of course, he was involved in the incident earlier. They were 3 wide a moment ago, and Andy was over to the right, comes over to the left, makes contact with the front of Michael Blake. A little bit of contact there between Niall Crowther and Fraser Smith. But Dennis Melcher, at the moment, he's on for his second double win in one race meeting here. And who else to put behind him? But Tom Jacobs says, we've got Jacquelet, Butler and Burke doing their best lawnmower impressions at turn 1. I thought they'd all got in an incident there. But yeah, Tom Jacobs chasing Dennis again now. So it's round 2. Ding, ding.
But all of that we saw a lap ago with Steve Burke getting into trouble was exactly the point I was making about Dennis Melcher, because you're running with cars all around you, anything can kick off, and you might be innocent, but it could involve you. So, okay, yes, he has made his way through to the front, but Tom Jacobs now is lapping quicker. He's bringing the gap down, as you can see under braking there, going down towards Abbey. So Dennis Melcher is not out of the woods yet in terms of even finishing the race. I mean, he should win the championship, yes, because all he's got to do is get to the end. But if I were him, I wouldn't be getting involved in battles. If Tom Jacobs arrives right on the back and he's crawling all over Dennis Melchett, if I were him, I'd let Jacobs go and just bank the points and win the championship as safely as possible.
Yeah, that's it. You've just got to play the sensible game here, haven't you? And just keep it calm. And to be fair, both of these guys on 4 wins apiece. So whichever one of them wins this has the most race wins to their name. So there's a little bit of bragging rights involved here as well. So we'll have to see how that develops, because I'm sure that they'll want to at least outdo each other in that way. But Tom Jacobs and Dennis Melchett so far have broken away quite a lot here. Michael Blake is doing it for Might Just Fit at the moment. He will secure them the team's championship as things stand. And Matt Draycott will be the independent champion if he remains in 4th place. We've got 8 minutes to go in the final round of the British Boring Car Championship. And it's all slightly come to a head a little bit here, hasn't it?
Well, it has, and as ever, we are not done yet. David Warlock has gone back into the pit lane. Michael Blake there throws the car at the scenery, and that gives Matt Draycott another place. Matt Draycott's up into 3rd again now, and this is on merit, isn't it? Andy Fox is behind him, but Michael Blake there has a real old tank slapper, so it's not being a terribly good race, this, is it, for Might Just Fit? They've lost Warlock. Blake's now skated off the road and down the order, but out of 15 starters, we've got only 10 circulating. There's no guarantee they're all going to get to the end.
Well, that's it. I think the motto of tonight is it's not done till it's done, I suppose, because any of these guys could not finish this race. I mean, we've only got 10 cars running at the moment, so everyone in the points. Dennis Melchett, though, the gap has now dropped down to Jacobs again. It's now just over 0.3 of a second, 0.4 as he goes into there. But then, as he gets on the exit, Tom's got a better exit than him. So, Mr. Jacobs is trying his very best at the moment to get past the iRacing Hitters machine. And I'm sure that his dad, Ash Jacobs, as well, is watching in the chat. He'll be very happy with this performance tonight from Tom. And he's constantly giving the support, which is always nice to see. But he's got some pace, is Mr. Jacobs.
He has, but he didn't do it in the first race. He was this omnipresent shadow for Dennis Melchett. And again, it's oh so close. But like we've said in race 1, he's just missing that last 10th, seemingly, isn't he? Dennis Melchett, on the one hand, I've been saying, you know, let Tom Jacobs go. Don't get involved in a fight you don't need to be involved in. But he has actually got the pace to just fend him off without having to weave around and try and break the toe. So, if anything, it's still advantage Melchett here.
It very much is. And he wants to be able to take 2 race wins in one night. This is Steve Burke on the back of Morgan Butler. He's going to be hoping for some sort of misfortune for Draycott further up. Matt currently on his way to a podium at the moment. But Might Just Fit, like I said earlier, even though they haven't got Waldock in this race at the moment, and they have only got Blake in 5th position, although to be fair, still top 5 is good to have survived. But it just looks like they're going to clinch the team's championship at the moment anyway, because of course Lundgren not in there as well, so Dennis's 25 points alone wouldn't be enough. So they have actually clinched it, in all fairness, because Lundgren will not finish 2nd in this race. That's pretty much guaranteed now. So we do have a team's champion already, but we've got 2 more champions to crown yet. Dennis Melchett's on his way to take the Drivers' Championship at the moment, and as we alluded to earlier, it'll be the first time he's actually won a Jetta Series, because he's finished 2nd in every other attempt so far.
All good things come to those who wait and all that. So Dennis Melchett leads the way. That puts 12 laps in the book. And Tom Jacobs again comes to have a look. It was 0.3 of a second over the timing line. So as it was in the opening race, in the sprint race, close but no cigar. He's just not quite got that ultimate pace. Dennis Melchett here rising to the occasion and coping also, of course. The one thing we haven't really dwelt on is with the changing light. It's getting darker and darker all the time, which is great for us to watch, but it's another challenge for the drivers.
It really is. And of course the back section of this Silverstone International Circuit is not lit, so they just have to rely on their sort of muscle memory, I suppose, and the headlights, which, while these what these Jettas lack in power and excitement and noise and looks and every aspect of a racing car, basically, as Jacobs goes down the inside, I was going to say they have it in headlights. They've got really good headlights, a bit of contact. Jacobs taps the brakes to make sure he doesn't tip Dennis there. That was quite nice of him, in retrospect. Steve Burt down the inside of Morgan Butler. Morgan gives him the room. Steve gets through. Nice run on the exit. There's a little bit of an overlap though. Steve, don't go all the way over, mate. Morgan's actually got a good run out of there. Jason Rowe in the YouTube chat saying, come on, Volvo Volkswagen S40 Bora Jetta, because he wants that Ericsson Hittles car to take the win. There's contact there between Burke and Butler again. That's that solicitor he told me about, isn't it? Burke and Butler.
Right, Burke's done it now, so can he get on with the job and go after anybody else? I think he's too far back. So Steve Burke, whose race was undone by that big spin, has effectively lost out in the mediocre Cup for Independence. All he can do now is try and salvage something for a decent race result. Trouble is, clock's ticking on down, isn't it? So we've got round about 4 minutes to go.
Yep. That is going to tick down very, very quickly, or I'm sure in the case of Dennis Melcher, it'll tick down very slowly. Michael Blake has repassed Matt Draycott for third. We'll have a quick look at how he did so. This is going to be surely an outside line round bridge down the inside of Priory. Yes. It's a great
up the inside. Yeah.
It's a great move, and it's not easy to pull that one off either. And we've seen a lot of people get it wrong. I'm not going to talk about two Toyotas, one of them being upside down. But I mean, even Kelvin Burt's been turned around quite heavily there as well. But it was the tiniest of taps, and because the cars are braking and turning, they're already unsettled going into there. Fraser Smith back in the pit lane, by the way. So something has happened to Fraser. Not quite sure what. Niall Crowther on his way for some points, even though he is down in 9th place, so he's going to wrap up his series with a points finish. Andy Fox, though, he's actually on the back of this now in 5th position.
He is. Can I just also point out that 9th is last, because the mortality rate continues to be high, as it was, in fact, at the British Touring Car Championship Race 3 on Sunday at Brands Hatch. That was rather the heat more than driving standards. But we're down to 9 of the 15. If you know your banger racing, you'll know that normally the theme tune is Mouldy Old Dough. I fear that should be played here, because more and more of them are looking slightly woebegone as the damage stakes go up. Dennis Melcher is probably the only person still with a straight panel. He leads the way, and actually he's getting away now from Jacobs. Look, that gap has crept up a little bit to 7/10 of a second. Yeah,
Dennis is just opening up that gap a little bit and just making sure that he has that buffer. And that's an important thing, you know, from a confidence perspective. To just have that little bit of a gap, you can sort of take it a bit easier in places. And Tom will be pushing, I'm telling you. Tom doesn't give up in these things. He can sniff a win, and he wants to take it away from Dennis. Dennis, of course, wants to round out his championship in the best way possible with maximum points from a race meeting, which is certainly the way to go for a title when it comes to it. Draycott and Fox apparently both just ran very wide there and went triggered the track limits warning on the exit.
Okay.
But
Fraser Smith's back in the race, by the way, so we have got 10 circulating now in varying states of repair. Well, yeah, true enough. Yeah, that's a fair point. 9 Jettas and a T. There is Fraser Smith coming out of Luffield, so he's back on track, a rather distant 10th now.
It's like a Class B Volkswagen Polo at this point, isn't it, that one, to be fair? It's not quite at full racing spec for a Jetta, but we have 45 seconds of the championship left to go, and I know these things are slow, but it won't take them 45 seconds to get around the last two corners, and Dennis Melcher is about to enter his final lap of the championship, with Tom Jacobs very much still in tow, though. The gap now has gone back down to 0.3 of a second, or just over that, sorry, and are we going to see a bit more of a robust attack, do you think, from Tom, or is he just going to be thinking, no, fair play, Dennis, you have your championship?
I don't think he's going to risk anything in a silly fashion, because he does not want to be the man that influences the title outcome. If Dennis Melcher goes wide and a gap presents itself, Jacobs will be through in a flash, but I don't think he's going to stick his nose in and jeopardise Dennis Melcher's championship hopes. And for Dennis to gain 11 places to win the championship, is doing it in the best possible style. So what Tom Jacobs has done is underline his pace, but Dennis Melcher has, for the bulk of not just this race, but the whole evening, race 1 as well, as he goes cone hopping there coming out of Ireland, he has been the man in form, knocks the furniture aside, he's got half a lap to go, but Dennis Melcher, on the evidence of tonight, never mind the season, he's going to be a very deserving British Touring Car Championship champion.
Oh, I was just wondering whether Tom was going to get the run out of there then to have it over on him. It was certainly looking close, very close indeed. Only a couple of corners to go though, David, and to be honest, I don't see it changing that much from here unless Dennis sort of pulls over and says, you know what, mate, you've done well, take the win. But
No, I think Dennis has got this. He wants to win the title. He wants to win the race, do it from the front. So as they come up towards Luffield then for the last time, checkered flag will be at the ready, unless Tom Jacobs can get a proper run starting now and get up alongside for a proper Silverstone type finish. I think Dennis Melchett has done enough to win the last round of the championship and to win the title all in one fell swoop.
Dennis Melchett is your British boring car champion, everybody. Tom Jacobs finishes the race in second place. What a great drive from him. Michael Blake gets a podium, and Matt Draycott is the mediocre Cup for Independence champion as he wobbles the Jetta along across the line. Andy Fox finishes in 5th. Steve Burt, commiserations, finishes in 6th place, though. Another fine result for him as Morgan Butler decides to chuck it at the wall. Carl Jacquelet is going to finish in 8th place. Niall Crowther for Dodgy MOT is going to be 9th. And Sarah in the chat does highlight that now Dennis is king of the Jetta, David. He's finally done it.
Deservedly so. I mean, we've been talking him up all year as one of the stars of the Jetta. Now he can underline the fact that he is, because he's won his first title, but he's a deserving champion to win more races than anybody. Yes, he had a good pedigree in these cars. Perhaps he was expected to win the championship, but he has done it in style. And like I say, to win tonight both races and to win the second one by gaining 11 places, I think is the perfect illustration of why he is a deserving champion.
Yeah, definitely. And it's such a shame, though, as well. We do have to mention David Waldock, because to get taken out in such a way, I mean, the first race, you may argue it gave him an advantage going into the second race, of course, and having him further up the grid really swung the pressure to Dennis Melchett there to get the performance. But obviously Dennis did perform that in the end, but that incident so early on in the race, so pivotal in the championship, and it only went downhill from there. The contact with Rob Lundgren with his teammate Michael Blake as well, then putting Rob in the path of Dave Waldock, unfortunately took him out of that one. Dennis was he was saying that he did feel a little bit on the back foot ahead of tonight, but he's got it and he's wrapped up the title, and he is the first British boring car champion. But here are your official race results then. Your race winner and champion, the German himself, Dennis Melchett. Tom Jacobs finishing in second place. A great way to round out a season for Tom. 2 second places tonight. I'm sure that'll elevate him way up the order in that one. Michael Blake finishing third, with Matt Draycott, your mediocre Cup for Independence champion, in fourth. Andy Fox in 5th place. Steve Burke, a great fight to the end in 6th, with Morgan Butler 7th. Carl Jacquelet gets some points in the final round of the season. I believe that will put him ahead of Ben Lambert in the championship as well. Niall Crowther, more points for him in 9th. Fraser Smith rounds out your 10. And then the guys that didn't finish: Derek Robb, Dave Waldock, Rob Lundgren, Josh Rayfield and Ben Lambert. But there are the celebratory donuts, and it doesn't look like the wheels are actually spinning, but they are, trust me. There are your 2 champions. Your drivers' champion, Dennis Melchett. Mediocre Cup for Independence champion Matt Draycott, who figures that slicks don't work on the grass unless you are trying to do donuts. And the team's champions might just fit Michael Blake and Dave Waldock. They managed to take that championship away. And you can see the rubber now being rendered on the surface. They're actually doing some sort of parade here. The two of them doing burnouts together. That's fantastic to see. They're really embracing the celebrations here, and it's great to see, wobbling the cars around. But, well, we've got more than half the field waiting in the interview booth, to be fair. We should probably have a quick word with them. One guy I do want to have a chat with to start what's probably going to be a bit of a long interview process in this one. Tom Jacobs joins us in the box for this. Tom, we were just saying, mate, that was a really good night for you. That's some fantastic performances there. You must be very happy.
Yeah, I am, to be fair. It was absolutely excellent stuff. Mainly me and Dennis going toe-to-toe, which I really enjoyed. But the main part for me, I think, was race 2. Like, the battle between Andy Fox in there, Matty Draycott, Dennis Melchett, Michael Blake, and then me as well. And then I said to the lads as we were going around, this is all going to end in tears, this. And lo and behold, it kind of did. But yeah, it was absolutely brilliant, nice racing, and I really enjoyed it.
What did you make of having a night race at Silverstone? Because we know that the one at Snetterton a few weeks back was a lot of fun. Was it the same situation here?
Yeah, I'd say so. I do prefer Snetterton as a track. I think Silverstone for me is more of I like the old F1 sort of layout type thing. But yeah, it was good. It's nice to have a little bit of a change of pace rather than just having it baking hot and 40 degrees on the track. So yeah, it was good fun.
Well, we're just watching back the first lap now. 4 wide at points, and it was all over the place. Like you say, it was going to end in tears. what did you make of the incident with your teammate there going in like Danny Kvyat on the brakes and basically deciding the championship?
The mighty torpedo. I've said to Fraser and I said to the lads, we'll watch it back because they were trying to suss out what had happened. I think Fraser had said that he got hit from behind, which did damage to the car and he couldn't stop it. But I saw a big cloud of sparks and bits of Jetta flying off into the distance. So at that point, I just put my left foot on the brake and held back a little bit because I didn't want to be part of that. To be fair.
And you thought now is the time to open a parts franchise.
Yes, definitely.
Well, any questions from you, David?
Well, I was just intrigued, Tom, as to know whether you were being very respectful of the championship situation in both races and not getting overly stuck in with Dennis, or whether he just had that final fraction more pace, because you were so close all the way through. But I was saying in the commentary, you don't want to be the guy that influences the championship by getting involved in an incident. So, could you have gone past, or were you respecting the championship outcome?
I think there was a little bit of both. I didn't want to be a part of... I knew what had happened to Dave Waldock, and I knew that Melchett was obviously behind on points slightly going into this, so I didn't really want to be a part of that. But at the same time, Dennis's defending is just unbelievable. Me and him have had so many titanic battles, I think, throughout the season that we sort of know each other's the way we're going to race, etc. But yeah, I think for me today is... To be honest, his defence was just a little bit too strong. But yeah, as I say, also there was a little bit of I don't want to send it down the inside as hard as possible and do a full Danny Ricciardo. And then but it was great racing from him as well. I think the respect that we've got for each other on track was top notch.
Cracking. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Tom. Just before we let you go, mate, as you can see, we've got a few people to get to. Do you want to give a shout out to anyone?
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to my dad. Big Ash is known to the lads. He's watched every single round and has thoroughly enjoyed it and has always spurred me on, giving me little top tips via Facebook Messenger. So thanks to him. And also to you guys as well. What a brilliant series. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Chaz, thanks for organising it. And to the both of you, thanks for commentating on it. It's been brilliant. And I'll definitely be back next season for maybe a championship.
Smashing. Thanks very much, Tom. Good to speak to you. And we'll see you
Cheers,
again
guys.
soon. Cheers.
Thank you.
Well, next up, I don't really think we could go much further without speaking to Dave Waldock. Dave, commiserations, mate. I know that's not, well, it's not the way any of us wanted to see that get decided tonight. I mean, maybe a bit of a sore point, but how are you feeling right now, buddy?
I'm a bit lost for words, really. To be fair, good on Dennis. He's been fast all the time, so I don't have any issue with Dennis getting it. I just think I had no chance. I literally got wiped out both times, so
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was the painful bit for David and I in the box as well, is that it was out of your control what like the main effect was in terms of you losing out on that championship fight. We obviously thought with the first race not going your way, it obviously due to the terrible format that I've conjured up here, it actually gave you a really good advantage for race 2, but obviously an issue for Fraser was all it took to get rid of that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and for some reason my I repaired the car, but the tyres were just shot from the crash, so I had to go in and change tyres. And then Rob, it definitely felt like Rob was turning, stopping me, he's backing me right up, and and then it kind of ended bad anyway. So
yeah, there was a bit of a bunch up coming through the right-hander, and then that was all she wrote, I'm afraid. But it's been it's been an amazing season though for you, Dave. I mean, you've been right up there from the very get-go. Just sort of round up for us how you've sort of approached this season and what you expect going forward.
Yeah, I've always kind of I've never gone in it thinking I'm going to win. That might not sound like positive, but I like to just be consistent. And I think that did show throughout, because obviously I was up in the front for a while. But I think going ahead, I'll do the same thing really. I'm just hoping that there's a bit more concentration from other people. That's all I can say.
Well, a bit of a statistic for you, and in all fairness, it's probably one you might want to hear but might not, but this race was actually the only one that you didn't finish in the points all season. Because I was doing the sort of stats and figures earlier on in the week just to see if there was anything I could slide into the commentary this week, just to try and impress David, obviously. You were the only driver that had finished in the points in every race so far this season. You had 14 points finishes, 15 in the end. And the next driver back from you was Steve Burke, who ended up with 11. So you were a good few races ahead in terms of like a point streak. So you know, like you say, you've shown that you've got the pace, and I really do hope you come back next season, mate, 'cause I'm sure that you'll be once again a title competitor.
Yeah, I think I just got to calm down a bit. I did get a bit frustrated, but you know, it's all fun, and yeah.
You see, Dave, at this point, you need to start telling the championship director that he needs to introduce a drop score rule, because on that basis, you'd have been quids in, wouldn't you? You could have got rid of your just count all your good ones. You'd have been all right.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me
I
just
suppose
note that
also part of the problem of the championship outcome, it's Murphy's Law, but it's the nature of the circuit, isn't it? Because that Abbey hairpin always used to create that kind of incident. You know, had the last round been a different circuit, it would have been a different type of race, different outcome, but it's the nature of the track, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
I'm not going to kind of dwell on it. So, congratulations to Dennis. You know, I am happy for him.
Well, great to
Well
hear
done.
from you, though, Dave. Honestly, fantastic approach to it as well, and of course, thank you, because it's been a joy to watch you this season, mate. And I really hope that we get a chance to watch you race in the series when season 2 comes around. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to as well? Don't forget you won the teams championship though, so you've at least got that with Michael. But yeah, just before we let you go, do you want to give a shout out to anyone?
I'll give a shout out to Mike because he's been an excellent teammate. I've really enjoyed teaming. Never knew him before this, so big shout out to Mike, and obviously the SM boys that are always doing 4D. Who's watching? So yeah, and you two, obviously. So I mean, I honestly thank you so much because it is one of the best organised series that I've ever been in. So yeah,
Thank you very much, Dave. It's great to hear that, and thank you for once again taking part. And we will speak to you again very soon, I'm sure, mate.
okay, take care, you two.
Cheers.
And you, well done.
Right then, we'll crack on with some of these, shall we? Well, who else to speak to at this point then, other than your new British boring car champion, Dennis? How are you feeling, mate?
I'm exhausted completely. I'm completely exhausted. I never thought that this is going to be happen.
Well, very well done, mate. I mean, we were just saying before, if you wanted to go for a title in the last round, the last race meeting, that's how you do it. Maximum points tonight, mate. Pole and both race wins. Did you think, even if you were going to win the championship, did you think it would happen that well?
No. So when I did the pole lap, I thought, okay, 1 point. Then I won race 1 with Tom hard on my heels for the whole race. And then I thought, okay, Waldog finished 10th. That's it, because he's going to get full points or maybe 2nd or 3rd. That's enough for him. And then when I saw the crash, and I already was 3rd after lap 1 or something, and I thought, okay.
Yeah, quids in. Oh, sorry, you're
Today's my day.
Deutschmark. But, well, to be honest, mate, your performance, you, once again out there, the body language of your car and just the way you approach the race, you just looked really calm while all of that was going on. Were you actually calm while you were driving, or was a lot going through your head?
To be honest, in race 1, I had a lot in my head, but I was keen that Tom doesn't make any stupid moves or something, and we still were able to pull away, I think 7 or 8 seconds in the end. So and then I talked to my girlfriend between the races, and I said, okay, Waldog finished 10th, and that's it. That's his championship, and yeah. But today luck was on my side, so
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, even when we were speaking in the week, you were saying that while you are quick, luck is never on your side, and it seems that it has turned that way tonight. But you are the champion, mate. You are finally king of the Jetta.
yeah, finally
Properly a champion now.
4th attempt.
Yeah. Well, honestly, Dennis, congratulations, mate. It's been a joy to watch. Important question, though. Will we see you next season?
As I told you this week, I have to do a short announcement. So with the, thank God, winning the championship, this is going to be the end of my sim racing career for at least the next 2 or 3 years, because I changed position in the army and I have a lot of courses to do, and I'm not able to race for the next 2 or 3 years. So
Well-
apparently that was my last race today.
Well, congratulations on the position in the army as well, though, Dennis. Very well done.
Cheers.
And thank you for your services, of course, as well, mate, to your country. And, well, what a way to round it out, mate? Winning a championship. So, again, well done. I can't say well done enough. It's been brilliant to watch. Before we let you go, do you want to give a shout out to anybody, mate?
Yeah, first of all, I have to get a shout out to all the people that watch my races for, I don't know, the last 13 years when I started with Race 07 and simulations back then. very big thanks to my family, to my girlfriend who are always watching my races. A big thanks to Team Mad that supported me over the years and let me race in a couple of series. And yeah, thanks to you, Chaz, for hosting this series to crown me finally. And yeah, hopefully I didn't forget somebody. Otherwise, I will do a Facebook post or whatever. I really hope that I can come back in a few years and yeah, race again.
Definitely, Dennis. Thank you very much, mate. It'll be good to see you come back and do it again. But all the best for the time that you aren't sim racing, mate. And like I say, I'm sure we'll keep up to date with everything on Facebook anyway. But thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and all the best for you too as well.
Thank
Cheers.
you, Dennis. Cheers, mate. Right then, champion has been discussed. We have another champion in our midst now after that race. Matt Draycott joins us in the booth. Matt, going into this championship, did you think you'd get to the end of this as independent champion?
No, not at all.
And
I thought I'd have some pace, but not that kind of pace.
I was going to say, after the first race tonight, seeing Steve finish ahead again and just close that gap a little bit, how were you feeling about that last one?
Nervous. Very nervous. The lads will tell you, I was trying to sort of work out how many points Steve needed more than me to overtake me, and I think it was 11?
10.
10.
10 points by the end.
No, not too bad maths.
Well, you know, you were going for worst case scenario, or no, best case scenario actually. That would have been the opposite way. But you've done it, and it must have been pretty tough though, because as we spoke about earlier in the week, you didn't really have many challenges early on. You, I think, won the independence class in the first 6 races of the season. But from then on, Steve was just so consistent, wasn't he?
Yeah, he just properly brought it to me, really. I got massive respect for Steve, obviously being his teammate in World GT and stuff, but yeah, he's brought it to me and I proved him wrong. Haha. One up.
You did get roughed up a bit though, Matt, in the races tonight, so you managed to escape some of the damage. Did that affect matters hugely or not?
I mean, the first race, there was a slight incident in the hairpin. And the hairpin was, I think, the bogey corner tonight for everybody. So the first race, I did have a little bit of a flash before my eyes sort of moment when I got a little bit of a side swipe, because 3 other cars went past me, and I thought that's like 5 places that Steve's got ahead of me now. But I ended up getting them 3 back, which was good. And then the second race, when all of that stuff happened at the beginning, I have no idea what really happened. I haven't even looked at it back yet, but that helped massively.
Yeah, it was.
I want you to answer the next bit honestly, which is, was there an element of thinking about all of this and trying to keep out of trouble, or was it one of those races where it was just all guns blazing all the way through?
There was, at the beginning, it was a bit of all guns blazing to try and keep that pace, because I know Steve's quicker than me in that car. And then when I came out of the pit in front of him, that was a bit daunting. So I decided to sort of let him through, because I knew he was going to I just had a feeling that it was just going to probably cause a bit of an incident. And I thought, if I can keep him just 1 place in front of me, maybe 2 max, I can still win it. So it was just all about trying to manage it really as much as I possibly can. But then obviously when there was the top 5 were all battling together, I hung back a bit just to make sure that I didn't sort of get involved in any incidents, and then it happened. So,
well, a job well done.
Yeah,
excellent stuff.
Thanks.
Very, very pleased for you, Matt, and well, I'm sure we'll be seeing you in season 2, won't we?
Yeah, 100%. Got to retain that title.
Well, that's
even though that's if I'm an independent next year.
Well, there's plenty to be seen for next season. There will be something announced on that in a minute, but thank you for joining us. Anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, Mum and Lawrence, who are watching downstairs, they've been watching us all night, and obviously all the boys all season. It's been a great bunch of lads. It's been great. You two as well for putting it all on. And yeah, just anyone that's watching, just great support, isn't it, for this?
Yeah, it's been Absolutely mega. But thank you very much, Matt. Well done on your title, and we'll speak to you again very soon.
Cheers, gents.
Well done, Matt.
Right then, we'll fly through a couple more. We'll just grab a few more in and just see what we can do. So, Driver's Driver Award winner earlier on tonight. You wouldn't have thought it, though, with the amount of people banging into the side of him. Andy Fox joins us in the box. Andy, that was tough, wasn't it?
It was interesting, I think, is the best way of describing it.
Certainly character
I
building.
think they all wanted a part of me, I think, tonight. I think that's what it was.
They were jealous because you won that Driver's Driver Award. They wanted to all be everyone's favourites, didn't they?
That's it.
Well, it's been a good, strong season for you, though, mate. I mean, I've sort of commented on it quite a bit over the course of the season, where when we first sort of met during the TCR series almost a year ago now, you didn't really have the pace. You were quite far off the pace, if anything, and to come to this and be so competitive, you must be really pleased with the turnaround. I mean, it's been great to watch from my side.
Yeah, definitely. That's been one of the things. It's been really good to find that I have got some pace as compared to when I was in the TCRs and just going around thinking, is this really for me? But then no, to come in here and prove that I've actually got some pace when I'm driving is good.
Well, it's been a joy to watch you, mate, and we are going to have to sort of fire these off quite quickly, I'm afraid. But just round up your season for us, mate. What have you enjoyed and what have you not enjoyed so much?
To be honest, I've really enjoyed meeting everybody because it's the first time I've met most of them apart from Carl, and they're a really good bunch of lads. It's a really well put together format by you. It's just been really, really good fun. Really good fun. I can't wait for season 2.
Smashing. Well, I'm glad you've enjoyed it, mate. Very well done on your performance this season. And before we let you go, do you want to give a quick shout out to anyone?
Just my usual. My brother will probably be going mad in chat again as normal.
He
So
is,
he's supported me all season. And I know there's a few others of my mates and stuff that watch. So yeah, big shout out to all them who watch me as well.
Love it. Well, great to speak to you, Andy. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon.
Cheers and Chaz. Cheers.
Cheers. Well,
You've got lots of happy customers here for next season.
we have indeed, and someone that I know will be a happy customer, and I know that he's asked me for an interview all season because if I'm honest, David, he wanted to speak to you at Alton Park, but because he finished on the podium, but you chose Matt instead, so he wasn't too pleased. But Morgan Butler joins us.
I'm in his bad books.
Yes.
Sorry,
Finally.
Morgan. Sorry.
Oh, I've been waiting for this for a couple of weeks, but I'll say years to make it sound better.
Right, well, tell us about your night then. So, tell us about race 1. How was it? How hectic was it? And how much damage did you incur?
To be fair, I think I had quite a boring night overall compared to some of the other battles I saw around. I saw everyone else getting into hectic battles, 3 wide battles, all sorts, whereas I just kind of cracked on and just got to the end. I didn't really have any good fights. I was kind of just not so much letting people go, but I didn't really want to be getting in the way of other people's titles and championships. So I'd put up a bit of a battle like with Steve, but in the end it was just a case of I don't want to be the guy that completely ruins all your chances of winning something, so I kind of made it easy.
Well, I think you must be the only person then that didn't have a big battle, because every time we look, people were either side by side or facing the wrong way or with damage, so you must be the only one that got away lightly.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, apart from obviously lap 1 into the hairpin, I think everyone got off a bit unlucky. Well, apart from Matty and I think Andy as well. I think they got off relatively unscathed, but I mean, that's just boring car racing, isn't it? It's going to happen at some point. It's just bit unfortunate that it was the final round of the season for it to happen, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's been good fun to watch though, and of course there's been a lot of different pace compared to what people are used to, because while these cars are easy to drive, they're not easy to make them quick, so it's been good to see the different pace from everybody. But before we let you go, Morgan, do you want to give a shout out to anyone, mate?
Just a quick shout out obviously to Pure Sims, to yourselves for commentating, and a big congratulations to Matty and Dennis, and also a huge congratulations as well to Dave for giving a fight all the way to the final round.
Cracking. Good to speak to you there, Morgan. Yeah, definitely.
Well done,
Thank you
Morgan.
very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Morgan.
you.
See you soon, mate.
See you soon.
Right, we've got two more very quick ones, and then we can go and have a beer. Michael Blake joins us in the box. Michael, 2 pretty strong races for you there in that one. I mean, after a bit of a rough and tumble race 2, were you expecting to get a podium?
Yeah, that was a game. I'm just trying to finish off with as good a position as I could. Obviously, it's been more documented. I've struggled in race 2s this season.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was a little bit downhearted for Dave. Obviously, congratulations, Dennis, is my teammate at Team Mad. But Dave, my teammate for this, I don't think he really deserved what happened to him tonight. He had the worst luck.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there was a few cars out there playing team games, and I just wasn't going to let it affect me.
Well, you certainly made sure of that. But over the course of your season, like you said, get your words out, Chaz. Race 2 has sort of been your Achilles heel a little bit. If you do come back into the championship for season 2, is there anything in particular that you know that you'd want to change?
The time before the meetings. I'd like to be able to come back, but I just realistically don't think my schedule can handle it because, like I say, with this season, I've really struggled for seat time before the meetings. Pretty much every meeting, my first laps have been at sort of 7 o'clock in the evening, and it's enough. The field's too strong.
Yeah, well, to be fair, mate, I really do hope that we do get you back for season 2 because it's been a joy to watch you, and obviously I know that while the racing has been quite frantic, it's been very enjoyable for a lot of you. But before we let you go, is there anyone that you'd like to give thanks to on the stream?
You for all the work you do, David for jumping on board and really taking the whole commentary up and watch.
My pleasure.
Everybody at Team Mad, and everybody that raced in the series and made it fun.
Cracking. Well, good to speak to you as always, Michael. Thank you very much,
Right
mate.
on,
And
Michael.
we'll catch up. Well, in a bit. Cheers. And one last one, and he's not actually had an interview all season, to be fair, but he got a points finish to round out his championship tonight. Carl Jacquelet joins us in the booth. Carl, how are we doing, mate? That was hard work for everyone out there tonight, wasn't it?
It was a bit. It would have been a 6 if I hadn't dropped it halfway through.
Yeah, there's been a few moments this season where we've seen you sort of run wide or just push a little bit too hard, but it's been a very closely fought season, hasn't it? And you have to take those chances and really push the car, don't you? It's. I was just saying that it's quite easy to drive, but it's not easy to make it go quick, is it?
Not at all. It's been a phenomenal season. It's been so competitive. It's blown me away, really. It's the only thing that's been keeping me on iRacing at the moment.
Oh, well, that's quite nice to hear.
It's
in a
high
way.
praise, Chaz, well done.
Yeah. Well,
Carl, how hard was that last race with the light changing? Because we're looking at pictures now from the end where it was virtually pitch black, but of course it started in relative daylight, so you had the race to worry about, but also adapt to the changing light. How hard was that?
Well, I race in VR, and I actually turned the brightness up a little bit.
Okay.
And it does sort of help, gives you a bit of night vision.
That's interesting. I've not thought of that before, actually. I've thought of turning screens up when I've raced in like a night race, but often with a screen, it's just the really low contrast and it's all sort of soft and looks a bit fake.
Yeah,
but
goes wrong.
Yeah, in VR, I imagine it's quite different. So if I ever do race in VR again without getting motion sick, touch wood, then I might have to give that a go. But just sort of round up your season for us, Carl. Is it something that you'll do again?
Oh, definitely do it again. It's been quite frustrating this season. I've had glimpses where it's been fairly good and then something's gone wrong. I've had appalling luck this season, but they say you make your luck, so I need to work on that.
Well, if you do come back to season 2, Carl, which I'm sure you will after that
Oh,
comment.
I definitely will.
I do hope that the luck turns your way, mate. Any final questions from you, David?
Well, no, I think you summed it up, really. You talked about what a good championship it is and the fact that you want to come back next year and with all the seat time that you've had and lessons learned, you presumably would expect to be more competitive. So season 2 can't come quick enough, can it?
Not at all, not at all. And where I'm doing far fewer leagues, I'll be able to devote a bit more time to it, which should make me quicker as well.
Well, I look forward to seeing how you get on next season, Carl. Thank you for joining us this season and thanks for jumping in the box. We'll see you soon.
Been my pleasure. Thank you, Chaz, and thank you, David.
Cheers.
Bye, Carl.
Cheers.
Well, there we go then, David. The season is officially rounded out. Now I know that over lockdown, of course, you started to get your eye in a bit with sim racing and esports and so on. What have you made of it from sort of this aspect, rather than away from like the SRO and BRDC stuff, the more sort of raw sim races that aren't real drivers? What have you made of this side of it?
Well, in a sense, this is only like club racing, isn't it? And I don't mean that rudely, but it is people enjoying themselves at whatever level their budget permits, whether that is in the real world in a Citroen C1 or in a virtual world in a Jetta. And joking apart, I mean, I know we've mocked the Jetta as a concept, but what you have proved, what esports racing has proved, is that although I think organising clubs will point to the fact that, of course, it did well under lockdown because there was no other racing, what it has done is prove to the outside world that there is actually an alternative. They had it years ago when track days started, and racing clubs were a bit sniffy about them, and suddenly realised that lots of people were doing track days rather than spending money to go racing. And if I were at the BARC or BRSCC or even the 750 Motor Club, I'd keep a strong eye on esports, because it is another alternative to a low-cost way of getting involved in motor racing. It might be that you want to graduate to the real world in due course in full circuit racing. It might be that you have no desire to do that and are very happy in esports. But organising clubs could do a lot worse than sit up and take notice of what has gone on during lockdown, whether it's in this championship, whether it's in others, because the spotlight's been turned on esports racing, virtual racing, and it's here to stay. Whether it ever has quite that explosion again that lockdown has given it remains to be seen. But more people are aware of it, and more people are aware of what it can offer and the alternative it offers to real-world circuit racing. If I wanted to go racing, would I want to spend tens of thousands of pounds on the season and go racing at weekends and possibly hurt myself? Discuss. Would I want to go racing on a Thursday night with equipment that's cheaper to buy, doesn't necessarily depreciate, and I'm not going to hurt myself? Well, there are lots of positives in that. So what it has shown me, and probably others, is not only what esports is all about, but actually that there is a real market for it, with a different audience, a different market of driver wanting to do it. And I think the organising clubs ignore it at their peril.
Well, I really do appreciate the roundup on that, mate, and it's good as well, because I know that there was a lot of people that were quite sceptical about esports before lockdown started, and it's
hold my hand up. I was that soldier, and when I got the phone call from SRO to do their first thing, I said yes, because I had nothing better to do at the end of March. The world had just stopped, and after 5 or 6 laps, I forgot that I was watching, and I hate the phrase, a game, but not a real race, because the graphics were so good. And I think I said it to you privately, but in the past, a lot of the promotion around esports racing has been to show photographs of guys on a sim rig with a television screen and a steering wheel. No, don't show me that. Show me the graphics out of the game. Show me what it looks like, because that's the sell. When you're watching it, it looks so real, sounds so real, that you forget that you're not watching a, in quotes, real race. I know there are real people doing real racing, but it's not on a real track. But to all intents and purposes, it is as real as it can be. And when you see the graphics, especially, which isn't to decry your efforts, but when you take things like the SRO Championship and it's real world drivers in a real world simulation of their car, you very quickly forget that it's not actually a real world live race event.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And it's become a real sort of driving force, like you say, for more platforms to be used for official series if they ever do need a replacement, to an extent anyway. But let me just say though, first off, David, to round it out, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you, honestly. The feedback of having you on board with the championship has been mega. I've loved doing it, and of course it's been great to work with you in that regard. So let me just thank you from everyone that's been involved with
this. Very kind. Thank you for inviting me, and it's been great fun to do. So, as I say, it's opened my eyes to what esports is all about, and it's given me some good racing to talk about as well. So thank you for having me on board.
Not a problem at all, and thank you everybody for watching as well. I do have a slight announcement as well, and that is that my brand new website, ChazDraycott.com, has just been launched. I literally clicked the button while David was rounding up esports for us there. Check that out now for any upcoming information for Season 2 of the British Boring Car Championship. We have dates in place, we have information in place, and we have plans. There will be something called Drivers Market going on over the next few weeks, where the drivers from this championship now in a way not quite seen before in sim racing, because the teams are preset. They will get the chance to choose whether they carry on in Season 2 for the team they're in, or whether they're going to leave and apply for other teams. There's going to be a lot going on, and a lot like a transfer window as such. There's going to be a lot going on with that. But this has been the British Boring Car Championship. I've been Chaz Draycott with David Addison joining me in the box. Thank you very much for watching this season, and we'll see you all again soon. Good night.